here's what we're gonna do. So first, I'm gonna tell you that right now, what I'm getting ready to. So here's the deal. So I have a startup called Z-Score Health. Z-Score Health is basically a startup that I'm building where, we have a website. The website was fully built using GoDaddy, very inexpensive. We also have our own email, my own Z-Score Health email because I own the domain name. Additionally, Z-Score Health, through GoDaddy, I'm able to use Alias. So I can create, I can create unlimited alias for my email address, right? So when you go on the Z-Score Health website, right? When you go on the Z-Score Health website, what you find is we basically, we say from equations to insights, simulating the future of medicine, Z-Score Health. It shows our Instagram and our LinkedIn. We have a robust following on LinkedIn and Instagram, boasting 10,000 followers per social media platform. We really believe in, more than anything, we believe in hype, the idea of hype in marketing, building up a company, which is really important. One of the things that we've been able to do, we've been able to leverage HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code to build very lean research tools on our website. So we have a tool called Lexicon, spelled Lexicon. And what Lexicon does is it let users right from our home page, copy and paste, or write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code. And we'll run, there'll be a research simulation that they can view from the home page. Next, we have simulations of medical concepts. And our goal is to essentially democratize access to medical research through simulations that allow users to visualize medical and health data that otherwise, is tucked away in static research. So another thing that we offer is a mobile app, our Z-Score mobile app, where users can join cohorts. And this is where the whole idea of, building hype. So users can join cohorts where we're essentially gigifying the research, not just through our medical research simulations and other AI-powered dev tools and agents to streamline research and allow individuals to conduct research through their phone, to democratize access to grants. So we'll be looking to, allow, labs and teams to join our platform to qualify for, grant funding, as they won't feel like they're doing grant research because of how the platform operates. Now, something unique we have is something called Praemin. So Praemin is a model that essentially we collect data on patients using risk assessments. We collect data on patients using risk assessments. These risk assessments are robust, multiple choice, free response questions. That is turned into a document, and that document can be used by providers and clinicians to give them a Z-score, which is identify their level of risk based on disparate data insights. So we're combining AI and predictive modeling to create something called Preyman, which is a model designed to identify hidden patterns and risk insights that otherwise would go unnoticed based on traditional methods. So this is kind of like the ecosystem that we're operating in. We're focused on the alignment of democratizing access to, not just medical research, but, patient care, as well as, allowing anyone to be empowered by, getting visualizations of, medical concepts that otherwise, would be tucked away or gate kept within within sort of like a static domain. So now I want to get into someone named Anushka. So essentially, how can I put it? So here's the deal, right? So I'm a Black solo founder in health tech. Right now, that becomes challenging because for me, I don't have direct expertise in health tech. However, I have direct expertise in product development, building products, and looking to scale lean startup operations. But I'm not in the larger healthcare field, nor do I have a specific background in it. So one of the things that I recognize is that I need to rely on building a team of individuals that are credentialed. And so here's the deal, right? So the deal is Y Combinator has a deadline of February 11th, right? So YC has a deadline for February 11th for its spring batch, right? So one of the things that I'm trying to do is I would like to get into YC, but one of the things I recognize is that I'm going to need a team, and I'm going to need to spend this time centralizing my startup and making it as compelling as possible to YC, building traction through maybe trying to secure partnerships with different healthcare startups already within the YC ecosystem. Additionally, another way we're going about it is through trying to get pilot programs by using LinkedIn to secure PhD students and researchers to join our fellowship programs. So that's definitely something that we're looking to do as well. With that being said, I am, with how lean our startup is, I am sort of trying to figure out how we can align the startup with what YC is looking to fund, because YC put out, they basically put something out here where they talk about what they want to, what they're looking to fund as far as early stage startups this go round. So, basically, basically, what we're looking to do is essentially, how can I put this? So we have a deadline, right? We have a specific deadline where we need to, I need to apply to YC with the most impactful, detailed application, as well as I need to properly have the people I recruit. I need to have them involved over this. So I'm trying to get everyone recruited by February. So what that does, that gives me about a month to operationalize how I can use them as a team in this 1 month gray area, which is going to be used to secure capital, right? Now, my strategy is this. These individuals are still in school, right? So if, say, they commit to an offer, with tomorrow being January 31st, if they commit now, the reality of it is if I don't get into YC March 12th, I can rescind the offer. However, the month of February, I'm going to be leveraging these individuals to essentially, apply to as many venture capital, as many, grants, as many incubators as humanly possible, right? So that's one of the biggest things I'm going to do, right? So another thing, too, is I'll be prepared to prep them as needed. Now, we had someone sign today named Kara Coyett. She got married. Her name is really Kara Motz, but she's a 31-year-old who's finalizing a PhD in biomedical engineering at Georgia Tech, right? So she's a very high-powered candidate, not very much work experience, but poised to be a candidate that legitimizes our startup, right? So one of the things I recognize is that I probably have a month where I can use her in ways that will be compelling towards getting that grant funding, and as well as trying to leverage her for YC. She returned the official offer letter, everything. So one of the things I want to bring up as well is something very fascinating and actually quite unusual. And I would love if you can, I'm going to kind of talk more about this. So essentially, there's a young lady by the name of Anushka Dagra, right? Anushka Dagra is a little bit about Anushka. She's Anushka Dagra. She just graduated from Georgia Tech, but she graduated early. She studied biomedical engineering, which for a South Asian woman, especially from Michigan, is not that impressive, as that's what you would expect from them. But I've noticed about Anushka, she's been obsessed with chasing distinction. However it looks, she's just kind of been trying to transcend, in a sense, being South Asian. I know it sounds crazy, but one of the things you realize often with many elite South Asian students, they operate in the realm of one-dimensionalism. So you often find them hyper fixating on a particular STEM major in a way that eventually pigeonholes them or allows them to excel in that one-dimensional framework. So they kind of will, they'll sort of position themselves where they just focus on that and everything else is supplemental. The thing about Anushka that's fascinating is she came to Georgia Tech by way of Michigan, so I'm actually not sure whether or not she was on scholarship, which I'm not sure if she has any impending student loan debt, right? So one of the things that immediately stand out about Anushka, she's very active on social media, right? So since she graduated, or when you look at her LinkedIn, everything is hyper curated and has always been about positioning herself as a socialite. It was never any mention of biomedical engineering, which always seemed like it paled in comparison to her over-encompassing ambition of being hyper visible and being someone that could, leverage her social capital and try to use it to get opportunities. However, one of the things you realize is it's kind of hasn't panned out when you look at how she's been kind of operating, So when you go through her LinkedIn, right? She, for homecoming, she took a picture with all the celebrities that performed at Georgia Tech. So it was an artist by the name of Lotto and NLE Choppa, which showed that to some degree she wants to be in that world, but as a young South Asian female who's been hyper focused on having to be a biomedical engineer due to cultural expectations, she has no idea how to, right? You'll see pictures of her attempting to be a model. She hyper curates, like she shows pictures of her in swimwear. She shows pictures of her in luxury brands. She shows pictures of lifestyle. She shows pictures of her traveling. Her whole social media sort of dynamic is centered around, being visible. So the first time I noticed her was I saw her running the Georgia Tech social media account, which was very fascinating because it positioned her for the most extreme level of visibility. So it made her look like somebody, even though I didn't realize, she was like working. It was like kind of like a job that she applied for, but it made her look like the pinnacle of visibility. Right? So I was like, wow, she's like really like someone who's notable at Georgia Tech, because I was falling for the illusion. Long story short, I have a friend of mine who I grew up with by the name of Romello Vereen, who works at Veranda Nightclub. Now, Romello says he frequently sees her. He would see her at Veranda a lot because, of course, she's obsessed with visibility and wanting to be seen, but she hasn't been able to figure out how to make opportunities out of it, at least not to the degree that it could yield influence or power. It's always been kind of fragmented. Like she'll get opportunities here and there for visibility. Maybe she hangs out with athletes, or you'll find her she used Georgia Tech as a social capital ground, but the environment doesn't yield anything more than popularity. It didn't yield opportunities in the way of actual internship opportunities and opportunities that could manifest themselves. So one of the things you found with her is she joined Phi Mu, which is a sorority at Georgia Tech. But upon review of her resume, she operates with two separate resumes, but the resumes are so disparate and she does not know how to put them together. She hasn't figured out how to put them together, which is why she's kind of been operating post what ended up happening. She graduated in December 2024. She didn't, because biomedical engineering is inherently difficult, she didn't actually get a double major in marketing. She got a bachelor's in biomedical engineering because as a South Asian female student, that's the priority. Like you get a STEM degree and you get a nice job. So the marketing, she tried to make up for not having the marketing, like a more legitimate credential, by trying to do like little marketing roles. So she kind of aimed to, leverage her social media manager role at Georgia Tech to defer marketing experience. And additionally, I'm going to show you another one that she did, which is, let's see here. I'm going to go to it so I can show you an example of it. So let's see here. So one of the things that I noticed, her resumes are so disparate and she hasn't mastered how to put them together. So she's been in limbo. It's almost like both of the resumes are not competitive for their prospective fields because she doesn't actually have a bachelor's in marketing, which makes marketing challenging to break into because it's an oversaturated field. So depending on what she's trying to get into, it's made her neither competitive. She's not competitive for either one. So she's kind of operating in limbo because at the end of the day, for her, biomedical engineering is hyper competitive and will have required her to have been far more competitive. So I'm going to go over, let's unpack her resume. Her resume is very well done. It's colorful. She put Georgia Tech, her name. She said she was an honors grad, bachelor's in biomedical engineering. Notice she said marketing certificate, which is, she's really trying to stand out. She's really trying to find a way to foster distinction because she recognizes something is amiss, that she may be not as competitive. And she's looking for a way that she could somehow bridge her social capital and create opportunities for herself in building influence and visibility, but she doesn't really know how, right? So she's a luxury Italian design brand and social media manager for Jennifer Tatinelli, which is like a luxury women's clothing store, which shows why would a biomedical engineer want that role unless they're looking for any way they can break into another industry and be hyper visible. So she kind of developed and executed comprehensive social media strategies across multiple media platforms, resulting in 50% plus increase in followers, 2,300% plus rise in average views. So if you notice, this is being done to try to overcompensate for not having a legitimate marketing credential, because a marketing certificate is illegitimate, especially coming from a university, because the only thing that's legitimized is getting a bachelor's or a master's in that prospective field, especially something like marketing, which is subject to automation, is hyper competitive, right? So she's trying to lean on over embellishing relatively normal roles. So then she said Georgia Tech student social media manager. She has these metrics that are hard to prove, monitor social media trends and analytics. She hyper curated her biomedical research internship to try to make it seem like it was marketing based. She said conduct a competitor marketing analysis. So this is kind of like a slight embellishment as she's trying to legitimize any possible experience and defer it to having marketing acumen. So she put Whistler leasing and marketing agent, IVF research and marketing intern. So she's hyper curated the limited roles she's had to make it seem like she has marketing acumen. She put summer 2023 Georgia Tech Europe study abroad, which is not a real accomplishment. It's just you had a program that allowed you to study overseas. So essentially, no company is taking that seriously. Third degree black belt. So she has a lot of miscellaneous fluff on her resume that kind of suggests that, it kind of undermines her credibility without wanting to. So now we get into the fun stuff, which is her supposed biomedical engineering resume. It said MedSurg R&D critical care engineering intern plus market research. So she said executed critical engineering test method validation task, drive 35% improvement in product quality and reliability for critical care devices. Led Taguchi validation study, optimized key parameters to achieve a reduction in variation and enhancing the performance reliability of critical care devices, projecting to save Cook $5.1 million. So there's an over embellishment on what she did within these roles. It doesn't defer skill. It kind of shows she's exaggerating the nature of what she did in such a short internship. There's nothing wrong with it. She used Georgia Tech student social media manager, which has nothing to do with biomedical engineering, which is deeply concerning. So now we get into IVF research and marketing intern. Analyzed PGT genetic reports for 80 embryos, enhancing viability prediction and clinical decision. Developed referral tracking system analyzing data from 500 plus doctors over 4 years, leading to strategic updates and referrals and website redesign to boost usability and physician visibility. So, she's essentially that was from 2022. So, at the end of the day, we these are just things that that whether or not that happened is up for debate. When people have internships, because of how broad it is, you don't know what you don't know what they did, because the people they work with are going to sign off on it. There's nothing to show for it. So it's just all things that there may not be anything to show. One of the things I noticed on her LinkedIn was I noticed the fact that she doesn't lead with biomedical engineering, which means she feels extremely insecure about that. Extremely insecure. Which one of the things I was going to play on with her is the story of Alexander Wang, and how what happens is when you're taking these one-dimensional paths, you often feel confined and you feel like you can't compete because it restricts the things that you're really good at, which those things actually couple together for entrepreneurship, right? So a lot of people who may be multifaceted, and I would just want to tell her, yourself, you're a polymath, which means you're someone who's, you can excel in both academia, but you could also excel in marketing. Even the potential you have within marketing lies completely dormant and untapped in ways that Z-Score Health recognizes. Us as a platform will be a catalyst for being able to use someone like yourself who's at this rare intersection of having a biomedical background coupled with marketing and the ability to, go viral, and who understands social media and understands the nature of storytelling in social media, positions you as someone who could be a powerful leader in health tech if fully realized. So I kind of want to play that role of turning her precarities, her weaknesses, and making it seem like they were always meant for entrepreneurship. But because, oftentimes people have to go by prescribed scripts of like, oh, you have to, be a biomedical engineer, or you have to just go into marketing. But it's like, to do both is really your skill. Where you excel is actually, you can do both, which is exceptionally rare, and it positions you as someone who could be a massive leader in the healthcare industry, an industry built on thought leadership and execution, as well as being able to take a brand and position it as an authority for both in the media as well as further execution within the framework of product development. And that's one of the things for her that I'm really, yeah. So what I'm trying to do is position her through this partnership opportunity as if at the end of the day, the only thing that she's been missing has been, you know, utilizing all those skills. So it may feel like, at this particular point in time, like, how do I make use of all these skills? Especially someone, when you come from Georgia Tech and you were a social media manager, you've had all this visibility. And now having left and graduated, you find yourself figuring out, I know I'm destined for greatness. I just don't know how to get there. Right? So let's go deeper. We see her projects and research. She puts Coulter, PPAL, BME capstone, percutaneous nephrostomy drainage bag redesign, ethics of natural compound on DLD cancer cell viability research, cardiac researcher. So the thing about it is, these are group projects, and students have been doing this for years, trying to position themselves as credentialized by leveraging projects. But what they don't realize is everyone does this. Another thing I noticed that she does is very creative and actually very business minded. She does this little bar on her resume to show like how much of each language she knows. So for English, the bar is completely full. For Spanish, the bar is like probably 90% full. For Hindi, it's probably like 80% full, which is fascinating because how she thinks shows that she's creative, but the field that she got herself into stifles her creativity because it forces her to have to mitigate that to reach the prowess that would make her competitive in that industry. She doesn't want to do that because that there's such a strong desire to be in roles that give her visibility. So one of the things I know is, for example, for skills, she doesn't lift very many technical skills. It's experimental design, Microsoft 365, SEO, verification and validation, which is very broad, ambiguous. I don't know what that means, but essentially she's trying to position herself as core being marketing, as she believes she's more competitive in marketing, but doesn't realize the disparate biomedical engineering works against her in marketing. She put project management, but she doesn't realize for a woman, especially a woman of color, management roles can be very difficult to attain as they're even more competitive. And so it would require either connections, shortcuts, or, climbing up the corporate ladder, which can be long and exhausting. It won't be as visible as she thinks. Photography, I know she does have her own photography, social media, so videography, editing. So she's a polymath who's multidisciplinary in ways that are currently working against her. As my friend told her, she's currently acting as like a presiding over Veranda nightclubs marketing, which means she's looking for any way to get visibility, but it's all being done in ways that don't necessarily position her for long-term stability or success. And this is quite common, more common than people even realize. So one of the things that this partnership will do is I need to open her up to a new possibility of the fact that here's a path that can position you for success, in the midst of all of these challenges, both seen and unseen. And I want to kind of make it structured because it's a Zoom call and I don't have very much time with her, but I want to be able to, our correspondence to be meaningful. And one of the ways our correspondence can be meaningful is by showing her that Z-Score Health is her best option at utilizing all her skills in a way that could be very powerful, as I see that her skill set, if not fully realized, can go underutilized. And I think that would be a tragedy because there's so much there, but you haven't been in spaces that would give you the right platform to do so. And I think this partnership will position you for leadership. It'll be able to put you in a front-facing role in front of investors. Ability to preside over social media accounts and take a forward path towards growth in ways that just operating within more disparate fields may be hard to do. There's oversaturated. When it comes to biotechnology, there's nobody like you, which positions you as someone poised to be a massive thought leader when it comes to biotechnology. We're just opening the door, just a call to action for you to use all the skills that you've acquired to be as great as I believe you could be. But it's going to take, fully actualizing that. And it may be uncomfortable, because even the concept of entrepreneurship, the concept of taking on such a challenge, the concept of it can feel like it's completely opposite of everything you've been taught to go after. And I'm making the argument we've already built an infrastructure for you, right? Because at the end of the day, there's going to require a lot of sacrifices, a lot of things that, may be challenging. And I just want to, provide her that clarity. But ultimately, I want the actual interview to be, I have an introduction where I detail and outline what Z-Score Health is doing. I don't want to necessarily go in detail about YC unless I have to, but I want to say that we're about to reach a funding milestone and we'd like to bring you on, have you a part of that, and just open up an opportunity for you to benefit in ways you may not even fully realize right now. And then I want to go and, ask her questions. But I want the partnership to be a strategic role because the thing is I'm trying to guide her into being a co-founder. And I recognize that for her, this might be scary, fresh out of college, probably doesn't really know what she wants to do right now. And right now she's operating in this space where time is closing. And she's starting to realize, what am I going to do? And a lot of women, they end up going back to school and getting a master's. But for her, she may have not focused. So getting that master's may not be an option, right? Because a lot of women end up career students because they don't really know what they want to do. But many of them know that they don't want to be in corporate roles. And they also don't think they want to be housewives either. So one of the things that I want to do is position this interview to lock her in and give her deliverables each week that will be able to form the backbone for, reaching that February 11th deadline to submit the application. Then we'll have, March 12th, of course, is when we would hear back. But ultimately positioning her to put herself in a position to be successful. And, just tell her that we're bringing on other team members as we continue to finalize and secure capital, as we're in an early stage pre-seed fundraising currently. So I want to make sure I meticulously detail the nature of where we're currently at as an operation. Tell her about, what we're looking to accomplish, where we see ourselves going, how large this can be, how it's not limited to normative definitions, how more than anything, this is an opportunity for you to capitalize on everything you've ever been focused on. I see that you were in Taekwondo, you're competitive, right? I see that you are someone who is creative, who has multiple skills, who, wants to be visible and wants your voice heard, right? And you couple that with biomedical engineering, you have a leader. And the question is, will society allow you to be the leader you're supposed to be? And that's the question. And I want to position it that way to be able to kind of wake her up to that. But I want it to be structured. Like, I want to use this video to work within the hidden insights of all that I've mentioned to position the most strategic approach to building out this interview. As I'm going to print the questions are going to be quite robust. I'm probably going to I want to ask her 10 to 15 questions that will gradually guide her towards the wanting to join the partnership and see where it goes from there.